Alrighty, folks, you know I'm feeling great on a Thursday morning because we're now 6-0 in our last 6 Gold Club tier package plays on my premium page. We had the Grizzlies minus 2.5 yesterday in the NBA. You know, they put up 129 points in a victory over the Spurs. And, you know, the good news is I've got another Gold Club tier package play going off here for you today. And if you sign up for that full access, all-inclusive Gold Club membership, you're going to get access to every single premium selection of mine, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to my college basketball free pick video here today for Thursday, January 16th, 2025. Happy Thursday to you. Weekend's right around the corner. We are just about there. And if you're joining me for the first time here today, my name is Brock Page. I've been dishing out free sports picks on social media since 2016. And with that, folks, got ourselves a big slate of Thursday action. Let's go ahead and dive into it. We're going to start off with the early one. I'm talking about Maine taking on New Jersey Institute of Technology, NJIT. That's an 11 a.m. Eastern tip-off. Maine is minus 8.5 on the road. Total's 131. Maine's 9-8 on the year. NJIT just 3-14. Now, Jersey's averaging only 62 points a game, and they've been terrible shooting the basketball. They're shooting just 39% from the field, 29% from three-land. And they're facing a Maine squad on the other side who's played some pretty tough defense themselves. The Black Bears are allowing only 68 points a game. They're 33rd in the country in steals. Kellen Tynes, he has a staggering 61 steals on the season. Jaden Clayton with 30 of them himself. When it comes to the total, the Black Bears' last 2 straight did get over the total. They also went 6-3 to the over in their last 9. Meanwhile, NJIT, they saw overs recently against Washington, Seton Hall, and UMass. I like Maine minus 8.5 over 131. All right, next matchup. New Hampshire, UMBC, 6 o'clock Eastern tip-off. UMBC is minus 14. Total's 152.5. The Retrievers are 9-8 overall for the year. Winning record against the point spread. Meanwhile, New Hampshire, they're just 3-15. 31% covering the number. New Hampshire is a bottom 25 point scoring team, 66% shooting from the foul line. Meanwhile, UMBC on the other side, they covered in 7 out of their last 9. They're a top 23 point shooting team. Marcus Banks Jr. shoots over 43% from beyond the arc. Bryce Johnson leads the Retrievers in scoring. Now, UMBC's last 6 straight did get over the total. Meanwhile, New Hampshire saw overs recently against the likes of Binghamton, Iowa, and Stonehill. Give me UMBC minus 14 over 152.5. Next matchup, Stony Brook taking on Delaware, 6:30 p.m. East. The Blue Hens are minus 10.5. Total is 152. Delaware 9-8 overall, 67% against the point spread. Stony Brook just 4-13 themselves, 6-10 against the number in their last 16. Now, Stony Brook's averaging only 66 points a game on offense. They are a bottom 20 they're in the bottom 20 in shooting from the field, and they're facing a Delaware team who covered in 4 out of their last 5. Top 30 in shooting from three-land. As a matter of fact, 3 out of the Blue Hens' top 4 scorers are drilling over 40% of their long balls. John Camden averages 17 points a game. Delaware went 4-1 at the over in their last 5. Stony Brook saw overs recently against the likes of William and Mary, Maine, and Norfolk. Give me Delaware minus 10.5 over 152. Next contest, Memphis, Temple, 7 o'clock East. Memphis is minus 8, total 154. Tigers are 13-3 overall. Temple's 10-6. And you know, the Owls covered in their last 4 straight. 84 points a game they averaged during that span. Jamal Mashburn Jr. averages over 20.5 points per contest. 44% shooting from three-land. And Steve Settles drilling nearly 40% of his long balls, second on the roster in scoring. And they're facing a Memphis squad who failed to cover in their last 2 straight themselves. Just 3-7 against the spread in their last 10. Now the Tigers are allowing 74 points a game on defense, and they have been susceptible to the deep ball. They rank 301st in three-pointers allowed per game. Now, total-wise, the Tigers saw unders in their last 3 straight, 5-1 of the under in their last 6. Meanwhile, Temple saw unders recently against the likes of Davidson and Hofstra. Give me Temple +8, under 154. All right, next matchup. Not sure if it's on our big screen behind me, but it's going to be Sacred Heart taking on Siena. That's going to be a 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Siena's -2, totals 140. Siena's 7-9 overall, losers of 4 out of their last 6. When it comes to defensive play, Siena's 305th in defensive field goal percentage. And they're facing a Sacred Heart team who definitely likes to shoot from outside the perimeter. These guys are making just about double-digit 3 balls a game. Amari Stewart, he's scoring double-digit points a game. Bryce Johnson makes 50% of his field goals. Now, the Pioneers saw overs recently against the likes of Canisius, Miami, Ohio, and Quinnipiac. Meanwhile, 4 out of Siena's last 5 got over the number themselves. Give me Sacred Heart +2, over 140. Next game, Louisiana Tech, Jacksonville State, 7 o'clock East. Jayville State's -1, totals 140.5. The Gamecocks are 9-7 overall. Louisiana Tech's 13-4. And more recently, the Bulldogs got the W in 6 out of their last 8. They're a top 20 field goal shooting team. 6'11 senior Daniel Bacho averages 18.5 points a game, 74% shooting from the field. And Amari Abraham shoots 40% from 3-land himself, dozen points a game for him. They're facing a Jacksonville State team who's in the bottom 3 in defensive turnovers. Tough time guarding the deep ball. They're allowing just about double-digit 3-pointers a game. Now, 5 out of their last 7 qualifying ball games did get over the total. Meanwhile, Louisiana Tech saw overs recently against Liberty, Florida International, and Memphis. Give me Louisiana Tech +1, over 140.5. All right, next game, Charleston taking on Campbell, 7 o'clock Eastern start. College of Charleston, they are -5, totals 148. Now, Charleston is 13-4 overall, 69% against the number. Meanwhile, Campbell just 7-10 straight up themselves, losers of 5 out of their last 7. The Camels are 323rd in the country in field goals made, bottom 20 in offensive boards. And they're facing a Charleston team who got the W in 8 out of their last 10. They're averaging nearly 80 points a game on offense. Daywell Tavares shoots 40% from 3-land, dozen points a game for him. And Ante Brazovic scores over 18.5 points per contest. Charleston 4-1 to the over in their last 5. Campbell saw 5 out of their last 8 get over themselves. Give me Charleston -5, over 148. Next matchup, Georgia Southern taking on Coastal Carolina. That is going to be at a 7 o'clock Eastern start. Coastal is -2, totals 141. Both teams are 8-9 on the year, but, Georgia Southern, they're covering in only 36% of their games. And more recently, the Eagles failed to cover in their last 5 straight, and they've turned it over a whole bunch this year. Georgia Southern ranks 334th in offensive turnovers, 65% shooting from the foul line. They're facing a Coastal team who definitely rebounds well on defense, and you really just can't shoot the long ball against them. They're 12th in the nation in 3-pointers allowed per game. Rashid Jones has the most steals in the lineup, 41% shooting from beyond the arc on offense. And Denzel Hines leads the team in rebounds. Now, total-wise, the Sean saw overs in 3 out of their last 5 qualifying ball games. Georgia Southern saw overs recently against the likes of Georgia State, UL Monroe, and Gardner-Webb. Give me Coastal -2, over 141. Next matchup, little Big Ten action here. Michigan, Minnesota, 7 o'clock East. Michigan's minus 9.5. Total's 144 and a hook. Now, the Gophers are just 8-9 on the year, 3-14 against the point spread. Meanwhile, Michigan on the other side, 13-3 overall, 11-5 against the number. And more recently, the Wolverines covered in their last 5 straight. Best field goal shooting team in the country. Actually shooting an NCAA best 51.9% from the field. 7'1" senior Vlad Golden leads the program in scoring. Danny Wolf has the most rebounds. You know, the 7-foot junior is getting a dozen points a night himself as well. And they're facing a Minnesota squad who has a tough time getting on the scoreboard themselves. The Gophers are averaging only 68 points a game, 63% shooting from the foul line. Now, total-wise, oddly enough, Minnesota saw overs in 7 out of their last 9. And ironically, Michigan went 7-2 to the over in their last 9 themselves. I like Michigan minus 9.5, over 144 and a hook. All right, next contest, New Mexico State taking on Florida International. And that is going to be a 7 o'clock Eastern start. New Mexico State's minus 2 away from home. Total's 143. The Aggies are 10-6 overall, winners of their last 6 straight. And during that time frame, the Aggies have definitely been tough to slow down offensively. These guys average over 80 points. They averaged over 80 points a game during their current winning streak. They're also a top 40 rebounding team on offense. Christian Cook leads the team in scoring, 42% shooting from downtown. Robert Carpenter's averaging a dozen points a game himself. They're facing a Florida International squad who lost 3 out of their last 4. The Panthers tend to get in foul trouble on defense, sending a lot of people to the stripe. When it comes to shooting the deep ball on offense, well, these guys are in the bottom 20 in the country in three-pointers made per game. 5 out of the Panthers' last 7 did stay under the number. New Mexico State saw unders recently against Louisiana Tech, Sam Houston, and Southern Utah. I like Mexico State minus 2, under 143. Next game, Sam Houston State taking on Kennesaw State. That'll be a 7 o'clock Eastern tip. Sam Houston's minus 2, totals 162. Now, Sam Houston's averaging nearly 80 points a game this year, top 20 3-point shooting team. They're actually knocking down nearly 40% of their deep balls as a program. Lamar Wilkerson, he's averaging over 19.5 points a game, 45% shooting from 3-land. And Dorian Finister scoring double-digit points a game himself. They're facing a Kennesaw State team who lost 4 out of their last 6, struggled defensively during that time frame. The Owls gave up over 83 points a game on average during that stretch. Meanwhile, on the other end of the court, KSU's 304th in offensive three-point percentage. The Owls went 5-1 to the over in their last 6 qualifying ball games. Sam Houston 7-1 to the over in their last 8 qualifying games themselves. Give me Sam Houston minus 2, over 162. All right, next matchup. It is going to be Hofstra taking on Towson, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Towson is minus 4.5, totals 124. Towson just 8-9 on the year. Hofstra's 10-7. And defensively, the pride of Hofstra, they're limiting their opponents to just 37% shooting from the field. Michael Graham leads the pride in blocks and rebounds. Davis and Arangaran have 48 steals between the both of them. And they're facing a Towson team who's in the bottom 20 in shooting from the field, just 66% shooting from the stripe. Tigers saw unders recently versus UNC Wilmington, Bryant, and Duquesne. Hofstra went 7-2 to the under in their last 9. Give me Hofstra plus 4.5, under 124. Next matchup, Appy State taking on Old Dominion, 7 o'clock East. Appalachian State's minus 2.5, totals 134. And both schools with their fair share of unders. Appy State went 6-3 to the under in their last 9. Old Dominion saw unders in their last 4 straight themselves. Unders against the likes of South Alabama, Louisiana, and Southern Miss. I like the under 134. Next game, Elon, Drexel, 7 o'clock East. Drexel's minus 2.5, totals 132. Now Drexel is 10-7 overall. Elon's 12-4. And the Phoenix, they've been absolute covering machines here recently. You know, they're covering in 79% of their ball games this year. And, you know, a lot of that is thanks to some strong defensive effort. They rarely send people to the foul line, and they're 11th in defensive field goal percentage. Elon's currently limiting opposing shooters to just 37% from the field. 7'4" senior Matthew Van Komen has 45 big blocks on the year, team leader in rebounds. And 6'11" senior Sam Sherry, he has 133 rebounds on the season himself. They're taking on a Drexel squad who lost 3 out of their last 5. Just 65 points a game they averaged during that span. Drexel also went 6-2 to the under in their last 8. Elon saw 6 out of their last 8 stay under the total themselves. I like Elon plus 2.5, under 132. Next game, William and Mary, Hampton, 7 o'clock East. William and Mary is minus 2.5, totals 150. And plenty of overs between both programs. You know, William and Mary, they saw overs recently against the likes of Stony Brook, Hofstra, and Virginia Commonwealth. And Hampton went 6-2 to the over in their last 8 qualifying ball games. I like the over 150. Next matchup, Niagara taking on Fairfield, 7 o'clock East. Fairfield is -1, totals 135.5. Fairfield, 6-10 on the year, 40% against the point spread. And more recently, the Stags dropped 6 out of their last 7. And they've certainly had a tough time contesting shots. They're currently in the bottom 15 in defensive field goal percentage. And they're facing a Niagara squad who got the W in 5 out of their last 9. Played some real solid defense during that time frame. Niagara allowed just 66 points per contest during that span. And oddly enough, Niagara saw overs recently against the likes of St. Peter's, Lemoyne, and Merrimack. Meanwhile, Fairfield saw 4 out of their last 7 get over the total themselves, throwing out that Marist game. Give me Niagara +1, over 135.5. All right, next matchup, Marshall, JMU, 7 o'clock East. James Madison, 6.5, totals 143. JMU, 9-8 on the year, 40% against the point spread. Marshall, 10-8 overall, winning record against the number. The Herd also covered in their last 4 straight. And they're averaging 76 points a game for the year. Michael Dawson leads the team in scoring. Obina Anachili Killen makes 56% of his field goals. They're facing a James Madison squad who failed to cover in 5 out of their last 6 qualifying ball games. Tough time offensively during that stretch. And oddly enough, the Herd did see overs in 3 out of their last 4. Marshall saw overs recently against Texas State, Wright State, and this very James Madison team. I like Marshall +6.5, over 143. All right, next contest, Marist, St. Peter's, 7 o'clock East. Marist is -1.5, totals 123. Marist is 12-2 overall. St. Peter's just 6-7. The Peacocks dropped 4 out of their last 6. They averaged just 68 points a game. And no real surprise here, the Peacocks ranked 325th in shooting from the field. That could be problematic because Marist is limiting opposing shooters to just 41% from the field. The Red Foxes rebound well on D, and they're allowing only 65 points a game. Now, oddly enough, Marist did see overs recently against Iona, UMBC, and Manhattan. Meanwhile, St. Peter saw overs in 4 out of their last 7, throwing out that Canisius game. Give me Marist -1.5, over 123. All right, next matchup, getting into that 8 o'clock slate. Oral Roberts taking on South Dakota, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. South Dakota is -8, totals 172. And see if we have it on our big screen behind me. I didn't see it. But anyway, South Dakota, they are 10-8 on the year, winning record against the point spread. ORU's just 5-11 overall, 33% against the number. Oral Roberts also took the loss in 7 out of their last 10. They're allowing over 78 points a game. They currently find themselves in the bottom 20 in the nation in defensive field goal percentage. They're taking on a South Dakota team who's 16th in the nation in scoring, 6th in free throws made, doing a great job getting to the foul line. Chase Forte leads the team in scoring. Isaac Bruins averages over 13.5 points per contest. Now, total-wise, the Coyotes went 9-1 to the over in their last 10. They're actually 87% to the over for the entire season. ORU saw 5 out of their last 7 qualifying ball games get over the total themselves. South Dakota -8 over 172. Next matchup, we're right on it. Portland State, Northern Colorado, 8 o'clock East. NCO's -9, totals 152.5. Northern Colorado saw overs in 8 out of their last 9. They're 71% to the over for the entire year. Meanwhile, the Portland State Pilots, they saw overs recently against Pacific and Seattle. When it comes to offensive production, both schools have been prolific shooting it from the field. I like the over, 152.5. All right, next game. Kansas City taking on North Dakota State, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. North Dakota State is -10. Total is 141. The Bison, they are 13-6 on the year, but they did lose 2 out of their last 4. And they did have some slip-ups on defense during that stretch I just mentioned. The Bison actually allowed 85 points or more 3 times during that short span. They're facing a red-hot Kansas City squad who won 6 out of their last 7. They covered in all of those ball games except for 1. Now, defensively, the Roos have been tough to score against this year. They're limiting the competition to just 29% shooting from 3-land, 14th in defensive boards. Josh E.J. leads the team in blocks. Jamar Brown has the most boards. KC saw overs recently against Oral Roberts, Bowling Green, and Idaho. Meanwhile, North Dakota State went 7-2 to the over in their last 9 qualifying ball games. I like KC +10 over 141. Next matchup, Louisiana, Arkansas State, 8 o'clock East. Arkansas State's -16, totals 148. The Red Wolves are 12-5 overall, but just 50% against the point spread. Arkansas State also has all kinds of problems shooting the basketball. They rank 324th in shooting from the field. And as bad as the Cajuns have been on the other side, well, they have gotten the W in 3 out of their last 6. Victories over the likes of UL Monroe, Coastal Carolina, and Appalachian State. The Cajuns also went 7-2 to the under in their last 9. Arkansas State saw unders in 3 out of their last 4 themselves. I like Louisiana +16, under 148. All right, next breakdown, getting into that 9 o'clock state, Rutgers, Nebraska, 9 o'clock East. Nebraska's -8.5, totals 145 and a hook. The Huskers are 12-4 overall, winning record against the point spread. Rutgers just 9-8 straight up, 6-11 against the number. And more recently, the Scarlet Knights failed to cover in 5 out of their last 7. They've struggled a bit on defense. They're allowing nearly 75 points a game, 318th in field goals allowed. They're facing a Nebraska squad who won 7 out of their last 10, 70% against the point spread during that time frame. Bryce Williams averages over 18.5 points a game. Connor Esigian's drilling just about 40% of his deep balls. Nebraska did go 6-3 to the under in their last 9. Rutgers saw 6 out of their last 9 stay under the line themselves. Give me Nebraska -8.5, under 145 and a hook. Next contest, Maryland, Northwestern, 9 o'clock East. Maryland's -1, totals 141.5. The Terps saw overs in their last 3 straight, 5-3 to the over in their last 8. Meanwhile, Nebraska went 6-2 to the over in their last 8 themselves. I like the over, 141.5. Next matchup, UTEP Liberty. UTEP Liberty, 9 o'clock East. Liberty is -9, totals 134. The Flames are 14-3 overall, 71% against the number. Liberty's also averaging just about 80 points a game, and they are a top 20 field goal shooting team. Caden Matheny drills 41% of his attempts from beyond the arc, team leader in scoring. Meanwhile, Talon Peter scores double-digit points a game himself, 40% shooting from long range. And as good as UTEP's been here recently, well, they have had their issues rebounding the basketball. They're in the bottom 15 in offensive boards per game. 5 out of the Miners' last 8 qualifying ball games got over the number. Liberty saw overs recently against Louisiana Tech, Sam Houston, and NCAAM. I like Liberty -9 over 134. All right, moving into that 10 o'clock slate. My screen is frozen a bit behind me. San Francisco taking on Pepperdine, 10 o'clock Eastern tip-off. San Francisco is -5.5. Total is 148. San Francisco is currently 14-5 on the year. Pepperdine just 7-10. The Waves dropped 4 out of their last 6. And they struggled on defense for the most part during that stretch. They're facing a San Francisco squad who allows only 67 points a game, limiting opposing shooters to just 42% from the field. Carlton Lingard leads the Dons in blocks. Tyrone Riley has the most rebounds. Now, San Francisco saw unders recently against Santa Clara, Loyola, Marymount, and Montana. Pepperdine saw unders recently versus St. Mary's, UC Davis, and Weber State. Give me San Francisco -5.5, under 148. Next game, UC Riverside taking on UC Santa Barbara, 10 o'clock Eastern start. Santa Barbara is -5.5, totals 139 and a hook. And the Gauchos of Santa Barbara, they saw overs recently versus Cal State Bakersfield and UC San Diego. Meanwhile, UC Riverside, they saw overs in 5 out of their last 9 qualifying ball games. I like the over 139.5 in that matchup. Next contest, Santa Clara, Loyola Marymount, 10 o'clock East. Santa Clara is -5, totals 147. SC is 12-6 overall. Loyola's 9-8. Now, Marymount's also covering in just 36% of their games this year, 3-6 ATS in their last 9. Loyola's had some issues grabbing rebounds. They're 307th in defensive boards per game, and that's certainly bad news for them because Santa Clara rebounds very well on the offensive end of the court. They're also averaging 81 points a game, and they're making double-digit 3 balls per contest. Elijah Mahi makes 42% of his 3-pointers for the Broncos, 13 points a game for him. And the Frenchman, Adama Alpha Ball, he leads the Broncos in points. Santa Clara saw unders recently versus San Francisco, Fresno State, and McNeese. Loyola saw 5 out of their last 9 stay under the line themselves, throwing out that St. Mary's game. I like Santa Clara -5, under 147. Next matchup, Wazoo, San Diego, 10 o'clock East. Washington State's -12 away from home, totals 153. The Cougs are 13-5 overall, 12-6 against the point spread. San Diego's just 4-14 overall themselves, losing record against the number. The Toreros are also on a 4-game skid. They struggled defensively during that stretch. They allowed 90 points a game on average during that time frame. They're also struggling grabbing defensive boards. They're putting way too many shooters to the foul line. They're in the bottom 15 in free throws allowed per game. They're facing a Washington State squad who averages 82 points per contest themselves, top 25 in shooting from the field. Nate Calmise averages 16 points a game. Lawan Watts makes 54% of his field goals. Wazoo went 5-3 to the over in their last 8. San Diego saw 3 out of their last 4 get over the total themselves. I like Washington State -12 over 153. And with that, folks, we're going to jump into our next and final breakdown for the video. Gonzaga taking on Oregon State, 11 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Gonzaga's minus 9.5. Total's 152. The Zags are 14-4, but just 7-11 against the point spread. Meanwhile, Oregon State's 13-5 themselves, 76% against the number. Now, the Beavs also covered in their last 3 straight. They've been tough on the defensive end of the court. They're allowing only 63 points a game, 13th in defensive boards. Michael LATECH leads the team in blocks, steals, and rebounds. Of course, the man does it all because he's also the team leader in scoring. And Nate Kings, well, man, this guy's dangerous from beyond the arc. Kings is drilling over 49% of his attempts from three-land. They're facing a Gonzaga team who's struggled against the number this year. The Bulldogs failed to cover in 9 out of their last 10. The under also cashed in 4 out of the Zags' last 7 outings. Oregon State saw unders recently for San Diego, Charleston, and UC Irvine. I like Oregon State plus 9.5, under 152. And with that, folks, now it's time for our quick pick recap. I like Maine minus 8.5 over 131. UMBC minus 14 over 152.5. BRYANT minus 2.5 over 158. Florida Gulf Coast minus 13 over 143.5. Delaware Blue Hens minus 10.5 over 152. LIPSCOMB minus 15 over 146. High Point minus 3.5 over 154. North Alabama minus 2 over 142 and a hook. Temple plus 8 under 154. Sacred Heart plus 2 over 140. Louisiana Tech plus 1 over 140.5. Charleston minus 5 over 148. Stetson plus 5.5 under 156. Coastal Carolina minus 2 over 141. Mount St. Mary's minus 2 over 138. Michigan minus 9.5 over 144 and a hook. New Mexico State minus 2 under 143. Canisius plus 12 under 142. UNC Wilmington minus 5.5 under 141. Sam Houston State minus 2 over 162. Hofstra plus 4.5 under 124. Merrimack plus 2.5 under 135. Give me the under 134 in that Appalachian State Old Dominion game. Elon plus 2.5 under 132. I like the over 150 in that William and Mary Hampton game. Niagara plus 1 over 135.5. Binghamton plus 10.5 under 127 and a hook. Marshall plus 6.5 over 143. Marist minus 1.5 over 123. Monmouth plus 1.5 under 151. Central Arkansas plus 10 over 157 and a hook. Western Illinois plus 7.5 under 132. South Dakota minus 8 over 172. Eastern Kentucky minus 3 over 140. South Dakota State minus 10.5 over 155 and a hook. Sacramento State plus 10 over 136. Tarleton State plus 4 over 132. Utah Valley minus 1 under 147. I like the over 152.5 in the Portland State Northern Colorado game. Kansas City plus 10 over 141. Louisiana plus 16 under 148. SIU Edwardsville plus 2.5 under 141 and a hook. Southeast Missouri State plus 2.5 under 145. Lindenwood plus 2 under 139.5. Eastern Illinois plus 6.5 under 136. Nebraska minus 8.5 under 145 and a hook. Idaho State minus 1.5 under 137. Give me the over 141.5 in that Maryland Northwestern game. Liberty minus 9 over 134. Weber State minus 2.5 over 146. Abilene Christian plus 14 over 144. Pacific plus 2 under 147. UC San Diego minus 15 over 136. UC Davis plus 4 under 155. UC Irvine minus 21 under 135.5. San Francisco minus 5.5 under 148. I like the over 139.5 in the UC Riverside, UC Santa Barbara game. Give me Santa Clara minus 5 under 147. Washington State minus 12 over 153. And give me Oregon State plus 9.5 under 152. And with that, folks, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my premium page. And just a friendly reminder, if you do end up getting a membership on my premium site, you're going to get access to that membership every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships during that time frame, absolutely free. They're going to be included with your membership. That's why I always tell folks, that Gold Club package, it's a full access, all-inclusive membership. Gives you access to every single premium selection of mine, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. Of course, once again, we are red hot in that package right now. 6-0 in our last 6 Gold Club tier package plays in that membership alone. But most importantly, folks, gotta thank you for joining me right here on the free video. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, folks, happy Thursday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my premium page.